I'm glad to have him on board. I got Philip with me, and I will let Philip do his introduction.
Been in businesses such as import, export.
You left at the age of 15. So, what was the first business or what was the first job that you had?
I used to get fired for some reason. I don't know whether the agency people wanted.
Have you ever been overseas?
Yeah, a lot of times. Yeah, in fact, I part live overseas now, working 7 days a week. But the project's almost on its feet now, and it's doing well. It started from a few pounds a day to, return a few million in the first year.
Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Hamza here. I will be starting a new series where I will be interviewing, more than interviewing, I will be having a chat with successful entrepreneurs. And I'm glad to have my first guest, a very good friend of mine, business partner, client, you name it. And I'm glad to have him on board. I got Philip with me, and I will let Philip do his introductions. So over to you, Philip. If you want to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, my name's Philip. I'm an entrepreneur. I've been in business since I left home around about 15, 16 years of age. Been in businesses such as import, export, manufacturing, marketing, and now we've diversified from property into pharmaceuticals.
Okay, amazing. So, Philip, you said that you started your career at the age of 15. So let's go back in time and let's start. How did you start? What was the first thing that you did when you left home at 15?
Yeah, I think when you're young, you don't see the focus of where you want to be, or you know that you need to exist, you need to pay bills. It is tough when you're young, but I think a lot of my years as a youngster was wasted with friends, hanging out, thinking that life's all about having friends, spending time going clubs, having a girlfriend. You get into a mundane routine. I think that was the first biggest mistake, but I think we all have to make that mistake for these kind of things to happen.
So, Philip, you left at the age of 15, you said, and I would love to know what was your first job or what was the first business that you started?
It wasn't a business, it was a job. I started in a job working for an agency, and then from them sending me to multiple places, whether it's a warehouse or whether it's picking and packing or whatever it is, I used to get fired for some reason. I don't know whether the agency people wanted just there for a day, a week, but yeah, a lot of the jobs I had, they didn't work out well. But yeah, and then there was one particular job that I actually enjoyed. It was actually a funeral company that buried people when they passed away. And the company there, they used to import granite and marble. So that was one of the first companies I ever purchased. Not the first business, but the first company I ever purchased, yeah.
Amazing. So going back to the fact that you mentioned that you were always getting fired, what was the main reason? What do you think? Why would they? What was the younger Philip thinking? Let's just put it that way.
I don't know. I mean, I was just focused on doing my shift and finishing the day and banking as many hours as I could. But I don't think there was a real reason. Maybe I was just not focused in that line of work. I didn't see myself wanting to pick and pack. I didn't see myself wanting to be in a warehouse. But it was the only availability at that point. You're a young kid. No one's going to give you a premium job working, sort of in a management role.
Yeah, makes sense. So why did you not choose the career of the standard people? People go for colleges and then after that they strive to go to the university and that whole educational system, that whole loop. Why didn't you go down that route?
Yeah, good question. Most people this is my personal view, most people that get an education, it just shows that you can sit there, listen and absorb and be very, very sort of focused on what you need to do, which is to get that grade. For me, I'm not into education. I think the life skills that life teaches you, you can't get in the classroom. And if we look at the world as it is today, successful people aren't really educated people. They learn from the lessons of life and they don't have degrees.
Yeah.
I think most people are dropouts. You look at all the successful companies and you look at the actual owner of the company, not the director of the company, because you look at a lot of entrepreneurs that have made it in life. They didn't get a degree. They.
Why do you think is that? I got my own point of view on that, but I would love to know why do you think that a lot of the successful entrepreneurs or a lot of the businesses that are actually very successful businesses. I
Yeah.
personally know a few as well. They are not people that would go through the usual educational system.
Okay. Yeah.
Why do you think is that? Where
I think education is great, and I'm not trying to put anyone off getting educated. You really need to be educated. Follow your dreams. If that's your dream, you want to be a doctor, a barrister, a lawyer, whatever it is you want to be. Yeah, you're going to need that education. No one's going to employ you and say, look, you know what? There's several candidates in the reception area. They're going to go through everything and see who's got that energy, who's got that spark, but who's got the paperwork to back it up. Say, yeah, they're certified, they're qualified. You know what? We can bring them on our team and grow the company. But yeah, I'm not that person. I'm the guy that was looking out the classroom window, daydreaming, and the teacher would say, "Hey, can you just pay attention?" I'm that guy.
Okay, yeah, I pretty much got a similar point of view on that as well. So I put same thing as you. I think if you need to go down the career, such as you want to become a lawyer, for example, or you want to be a doctor,
Yeah,
you do need to follow the educational system. People that in my industry in IT, I'll definitely say to a certain extent, yes, you do need to have some sort. I wouldn't say a degree, but you do need to have the basic education that you need to get into the field. But the overall experience that you build in the market and the tools that you use in the market are very different than what is taught at the universities or
yeah,
what our educational system is teaching us.
yeah. You
So,
will build your skill set. I mean, it's great to have some sort of schooling, but ultimately, I'm not saying that you should drop out of school and that's going to make you successful. No, no. I think it's not who you are. It's what you are inside that makes you where you want to be. And you don't see that. But as you grow, your path will change. I mean, we set up I set up a business many years ago, and I thought that's my goal. I want to be a millionaire. I want to make that money, and I want this in life, and I want that in life. But when you grow, it's like a plant. When you plant a seed in the ground, it'll grow into a tree. But that's not where you end up. You might have this thing in your mind that, you know what, that's where I'm going to be. That's not where you are going to be, because it will change again and again and again, just like a branch on a tree. You will start up in one company or a business and think, you know what, this is it. This is what I want to do. And this is where I'm going to make my millions. And that's not where it is. You will have failures. You'll have good points. You'll have bad points. You will win, lose, draw. You just got to hang in there. Like I said, I had a marketing company as a young age. It was so successful, it failed. Now,
okay.
most people are going to pretty much think, well, okay, so you had a marketing company. It was so successful. How does it fail?
Yeah.
Well, lesson number one, called cash flow. Okay, so we set out Rough Guide Publications. It was a marketing company, and it was the first of its kind to basically promote the local city that we lived in. So you would go around, okay, go door to door. And we were talking years and years ago. You would go door to door and say, look, would you like to put your company in our magazine? We'll discuss a bit about, like, for example, it's a restaurant. We could have a restaurant of the week. So we'd discuss that. We'd put it online. We'd put them in the magazine. We had loads of people sign. This was earlier days of the internet. Probably, I think it was the late 90s.
Okay.
It was that sort of year. And we had so many people signing up. Back then it was checks. So people would write a check,
Okay.
and you would have to bank that check. And then when you bank that check, you have the cash cleared funds in the bank. So yeah, we were so successful that we literally sold out the whole entire magazine. In fact, we doubled on the next run, we doubled the thickness of the magazine and it was like 100 plus pages,
Oh, wow.
and it was like reasonably thick for a startup magazine company. And we distribute around hotels, bars, restaurants, all that sort of stuff, so people can read about it. The company failed because it was so successful. So let's break it down. So if it was so successful, why did it fail? So going back to it, it was cash flow. That was my first lesson in business, cash flow. So I went to the company that says, right, I really need you to produce these magazine. I need X amount of 1,000 copies, and I need them because it was a bi-weekly magazine. They said no. I said, we're good for the cash. They said no. I had all these checks, okay? They all didn't get banked on time. So therefore, there was no cash flow in the business. So they pulled my second run of the magazine. And I was literally like, you've got to be kidding me. Come on, we're successful. We've got bookings coming up. The magazine's doubled. Please print this. No, corporate company just turned around. I'm a one-man band, a startup. No, we can't honor that print. So come back when the checks are cleared. So we had to go back to all these businesses and give back their funds and say, look, there's your check. Unfortunately, we're no longer producing the magazine. And it was embarrassing because it was so successful. They were sad. They wanted to be in it. It was something new. The internet was just taking off. But yeah, the big corporate company looked down at the one-man band and said, no, you can't have that. You need to have the cash. We couldn't even get an overdraft. you know. But that was the first lesson of getting a bit of a taste of success, but then failing purely down to cash flow. So yeah, we had a bad run then, but that's not where we stopped. We thought to ourselves, okay, that's it. No, this is what I'm saying. So the vision you have in your mind of where you want to be, it will change. You know, some points you will get there and you will fail. And you think, that's it. What am I going to do next? What am I going to do next? You can't just give up. You just have to plant another seed. And you just have to tend to that tree every day, every week, every year. Eventually the branch will come out. It's not going to come out straight from the seed, but eventually it will come out and then you grow.
So yeah, persistency and consistency, I would say. Okay.
Yeah.
So going back to my origin, you know, the first company that you said that you purchased.
Yeah.
Where did you find the funds to purchase that company? How did you end up purchasing it? Let me just ask you that.
This is a funny one. So I got a job with an agency and I got fired from that job.
Okay.
So this was a company that did funeral care. So they imported granite stones and then did the sandblasting, the gold leaf in the template and fitting on site and all the rest of it. So yeah, I think they were doing around about 20, 30 burials a week in terms of the tombstones, and they're not cheap. You know, they could be anywhere from 1,000 to 2,500, 3,000 just for a basic memorial stone, you know, and then go up to with curb sets and all the rest of it. You could be spending 10, 15 grand if you wanted to. It was a joke back in that day. It's not a dying business, is it? You know,
that's a good one.
It's not a dying business. It was a great business, and I saved some money from a youngster, and I bought a house by accident. I didn't know anything about property at that point. I bought this. It was a new build house. Someone bought it. I think his wife passed away. They put it on the market. I went to view and I said, I'm interested in buying it. I think it was about £128,000 back then. I had the funds. I bought it. And then, I lost my job when I literally as we was due to complete on the exchange. So then I went out. I was at Frankie and Benny's. I bumped into the owner that owned the company, and he was like, "Hey, Phil, how's it going? What are you doing?" I says, "Oh, I'm into property now." And he's like, "Oh, really?" I says, "What about you?" I said, "Oh, I want to sell the company." I said, "Oh, really? I'll buy it." He said, "What are you going to do with it?" I said, "No, I've got the funds. Don't worry." He goes, "Are you sure?" I said, "Yeah." So he took my number. We exchanged numbers, and I thought, you know, he said, "Look, I'll call you tomorrow. You know, we'll catch up."
Mm-hmm.
I was stood by the phone thinking, let it ring. Come on, you've got to call me. And I didn't want to call him. Second day went, I thought, you know what? Forget him. Waste of time. And I was thinking, but what if he does call? How am I going to get the funds? And this was by accident. I had no idea where I was going to get the funds. I just said, I want to buy your company. And he did ring eventually. And he says, oh, come down and see me. He said, yeah. So I went down and seen him. We had a chat, we had a coffee, and we agreed a price. And his word was, look, I'll sell you the company, but you don't tell the staff that I've sold you the company. Just come in gently. We don't have to, you know, ruffle any feathers or upset any staff. Because I remember the reason I got sacked was for one guy. He still worked there. He got me the sack. How did I get the sack? He chipped one of the tombstones, and it should have been fitted that day, that afternoon. And he chipped it and broke it basically. Okay. So that funeral, you can imagine what happened with it. That's really bad. I got the blame for that. I didn't even realize it was broken. Then only afterwards, when he was inviting me to, because no reason I had to fire you. I said, why? Because you broke that set. I said, I never touched that set. It wasn't me. But he said, look, you know, I'm not going to give the name, but this person, Mr. X, he said that you broke that, and this is why I had to let you go. These things were expensive, blah, blah, blah. He goes, look, that's gone now. Let's do the deal. He says, have you got the funds? Yeah, of course, no problem. I said, but we're gonna take this. I want it to be, you know, within a 3 to 6 month period. You know, I'll work here, and then, you know, we can do a handover. No one needs to know. He said, okay, let's agree the price. We agreed the price, and then I left. We exchanged details, and then he said, look, give me your lawyer's details. Here's mine. We'll get it sorted. I left thinking, wow, okay, I've got this deal. Where am I going to get the funds from? I had no idea even at this stage, but I did know one thing. I just bought a property. And I've been in that property, you know, at that point, it was been a few months. Anyway, so when we exchanged, had the deal, went through, 3 months passed, I was in the property. I just thought I'd get a valuation. I only put a toilet roll holder in the toilet and painted one of the rooms. The valuation came back at 83, 84 grand more than I bought the house for.
Okay.
Okay, I had a few other savings in this, that, and the other, and I thought, okay, this is good. I can do something with this. And then I realized I'm still short. I'm hundreds of thousands of pounds short still. So then I thought, well, you know what? Let's play this from a different angle. So I went back. I said, look, for tax reasons and this, that, and the other, can we do this deal a bit diplomatically? And because the business had no debt and it was cash rich, okay, I said, look, why don't you give me the company? I'll give you that money. I'll give you what you want, and I'll refinance the company. So I basically refinanced the company with his consent because I'm buying it anyway. Otherwise, I stand to lose. It was 80 odd thousand pound I had. I put another 50, 60,000 I had. I said, look, that's yours. If this doesn't go through, you get that money for free. We'll put a clause outside of the clause that the solicitors know, but another clause outside that if I do not purchase the company within a set amount of month, you get the money back. So we did the deal, refinanced the company. He got paid. I took on the debt and I paid it, and we did very, very well from that company.
Oh, wow, that's inspiring, and actually crazy how entrepreneurs are willing to take that risk. I don't think anybody would take a valuation again on a property after just being in for a few months, and that too at a very early stage.
I was lucky. I think property was booming then. Yeah, I tidied up a little bit, nothing major, but yeah, I couldn't believe how much it went up in value in the short space of time, and that did help. But again, when I had the meeting, I didn't realize where I was going to get the funds from. But obviously, through communication, talking, and having trust for one another is a big, big thing in business. It's always about having good contacts. Going back to it, cash flow management infrastructure is really, really important. But some people say cash flow is king. I sometimes have to disagree with that. Why cash flow is king? Because if you've got good contacts, you don't need any cash. I mean, I'll give you a scenario recently where we needed X amount of thousands of pounds of goods. We had the cash, but my contact said, listen, it's fine. We'll do a sale and return. I trust you. Take whatever you want. So we took, £100,000 worth of stock, literally within 30 days, flipped it and gave the money back. Yeah. So that goes to show that if you've got good contacts, you don't need cash.
I think to get to those contacts, first you do need to have built some sort of cash flow to have that trust, I would say, or
not cash flow. You need to have a rapport. Okay. I think you need to have a rapport and have the trust for one another. If you've got that trust for one another and you've got a bit of kind of, where they're at in terms of their reputation, who they are, what they own, you kind of have that for one another. And sometimes, it's about the trust. It's not about the money. They want to make money. They want to sell you goods or services, and they're willing to put that much faith in you. And that's what good contacts are. There's that trust. That there's no document paperwork. There's an invoice here. Take the stock. Pay me back in 30 days, and that's what it is. It's important to have that.
For the audience or for somebody who is inspiring to be an entrepreneur or who is just starting their journey, what would you say that how do you develop that trust with let's just put it with your suppliers or with the people around you?
I think it's good that you build a bit. I mean, if you've traded a little bit with the company, they know who you are. That helps. But I think. Sometimes if you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to bring other people on board. You can't just do it yourself because maybe you don't have the cash flow. Maybe you've got a great concept. You just need a bit of an investor to come on board with you. It's not always good to go to friends and family. People say go to friends and family. Sometimes you just have to get that money, save it. It might take you 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And that means not going out on the weekends, not socializing with your friends, but you have to focus on you and what you want. It's either party today and work hard for the rest of your life, or work hard now and then party the rest of your life. So you have to make that decision on what you want.
Definitely, that definitely makes sense. Okay, so you bought that company, you managed to get hold of that company. What happened to the guy that actually, said that you broke it? What happened to him? Let's just go back to him.
Mr. X, right. He did stay with us. He did stay with us for a while. He left on his own accord after he started to get a sniff that, hold on, why does he seem to be throwing the orders around? He got fired years ago, and this guy's back now like some sort of manager or something. Even though I was hands-on, I was still on the ground. I was still, in the vehicles on site fitting. But yeah, I think he quit on his own accord. Yeah. And for me, what I've realized is, it's the right people in any company. A company is only successful as the people within it, but the very people within it can also destroy it.
Right.
So you really got to be careful on who's in the company.
There's a fine line in there.
Yeah, you've got to have a right team, and it's like a clock or a watch. Every cog is important. Just because you're part of that sort of circle, every tooth is important, and everyone needs to understand that we're all valuable here. It's not someone will go behind your back and just to be good in front of the director or the manager to get these points. No, that's weak.
I know you, and when I asked you that question, I was expecting actually a similar answer, because I know a lot of people at your place, if they would have had the opportunity, they would have gone for revenge more than anything. They would have gone.
Most people will do that.
Ego on there.
Yeah, most people will, but I always believe karma. Let the universe take care of what it needs to do. You do what you need to do, and let fate decide.
I think that's a really important lesson for a lot of everybody, pretty much. I think sometimes we all forget, and we get into that. That ego, you can say, or that revenge mentality. Oh, that person did this to me, I need to get back to him somehow.
It happens.
But we just need to let it go.
Listen, you wouldn't hold on to a hot rock, would you? So why would you hold on to anger and envy and hate and all that? That's just destroying you. Let it go. Exactly. Just be cool. Let it go. Forgive. That's a bigger person, and you know what? You actually grow from that, and you start to think differently when you start to understand. I can't just forgive. Yeah, you can. You're holding on to hot rocks. Let it go.
Sure.
But being an entrepreneur, I think, if you're setting out and you're new and you want to do something, sometimes the worst advice is from friends and family. People say, "Oh, go to friends and family for advice." Why would you go to friends and family for advice? It's like saying, "Look, I'm sick. I'm not going to go to the doctor. I'm going to go to the architect." Because I think they can figure this out. No, they can't. Friends and family, generally speaking, they may not have a company or a business or even invested or anything.
Yeah.
So why would you want to take advice from people that have never done what you're about to do? They want to protect you or they want to hurt you. It's one of the two. You see, you could go to your mum and your mum would be like, "No, don't invest. Listen, keep your money, get a job, stay there, it's safe." Only because they've gone through the hardship and they don't want you to make a mistake and they just want you to have a settled life. Yeah. But then you can go to, everyone's different. So friends and family, I wouldn't go to them for advice. Definitely not. Some friends might give you the wrong advice. Some friends will give you advice what they think is the right thing to do. But no, you need to go to someone that's actually in the game.
Yeah.
If that means going and getting a job for a company and say, "Listen, I will work for you for free. Just teach me something about your business, or guide me, mentor me," because that's invaluable. But yet you'll go to university for 2, 3, 4 years, just to get a certification. If you're an entrepreneur, you don't need that. You will almost fabricate an idea and think, "Well, you know what? This is what the market needs. I've got this multi-million-pound idea and this is going to be great." Sometimes sit down. If it's still there in a week's time, 2 weeks' time, it's niggling you, break it down into a skeleton plan. Put it on paper. Where are you going to get the goods from? Or is it a good service? Whatever it is you're offering, you have to break that down and see, does it make sense? If it makes sense, it makes dollars. Is that, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, you've got to look at it from that mentality.
You're definitely right on that. And yeah, once again, consistency, that's the main thing. And I think a lot of us have great ideas, but we don't have the consistency or the drive or the hunger to actually implement them ideas or get out from the bed early. For example, the earlier chat that we were having for
we were laughing, but it's important to understand the difference between a customer and a client. There's a big difference between a customer and a client. Most people don't know that difference. We spoke about it today.
Yeah.
A client, let's look at a customer. Okay, a customer. A customer is someone that will go and buy a pair of jeans or a shirt. That's just a customer. The difference between a customer and a client would probably be someone that you would advise. Even if it's one bit of advice or guidance in one respect or another, they won't forget that. They'll be like, "You know what? I didn't know that before." A hairdresser, believe it or not, when you go to get your hair done, you're not a customer, you're a client. You're advising them, "You know what? Why don't you dye your beard, or why don't you shape it up here and go with a fade here? We'll come dye your hair." You're advising them. So they're your client, and they'll repetitive business. They'll come back and back again. Whereas a customer will just shop anyone. They're really not loyal. So there is a big difference between a client and a customer. You need to understand the differences. But that client, even though they may not have spent money with you, but you've guided them, you've consulted them in one respect and gave them some advice. They'll be driving home, or the following week they might be with friends and say, "You know what? I didn't know this, but did you know X, Y, and Z about the building trade or the architecture trade, or doctors do this when you call them up and when they're trying to diagnose you, or whatever it is." Yeah, so there is a big difference between those two.
Yeah, you need to understand. Right, yeah. I think with the industry that I work with as well, we literally don't have. I don't think we have any customers. All of our clients, and
Their clients,
it
yeah.
is very, it's a big responsibility as well when we advising on anything. Same with your industry is actually harder. But let's go back a little bit once again. Yeah, I just wanted to know how you progressed from. So you purchased that company, it was rich in cash flow, and then why did you leave that company, or what was the next step?
I invited a friend to come. When I first set up, I said, "Look, I want to buy this business. Are you interested?" He had a really high flying job
Mm-hmm.
in the city of London. He was at the top of his game. He was brand new cars. He was making good money. And he said, I'm not sure, but you go ahead and buy it. You go ahead and do it. Anyway, I did see him afterwards, and I told him I bought the company. He was gobsmacked, like, "What, you bought that company?" Like, yeah, that's where I'm at. He says, "I'm coming to see you right now. Listen, where you at?" I says, "I'm here, come." He came down, he says, "Bro, this is, wow, you just smashing the game. You're making money." Yeah, we were making around about 10 grand a week, 15 grand a week, which is not bad money
Decent amount.
for someone at a young age. So yeah, we were making good money. And he then decided to come partnership, and I gave him a percentage of the company. The company developed after taking a trip overseas to the quarries. So granite's granite, right? What else can you do with it? At that time, we would get people knocking on the door and say, "Do you have any granite? Can you sell granite?" Like, "Yeah, what do you need it for?" "Kitchen worktops." Like, the hell are you going to do with what, granite on a kitchen worktop? This was new to me. So I was like, "Oh, okay, let me think." And I didn't realize how expensive granite was for worktops. I thought, well, people just had wood worktops. What the hell were you going to put stone in the kitchen for? I'm from nothing. So for me, that's like crazy. So yeah, and went back to the quarry and said, "You know what?" Went to my contact. "I want a container. Fill it all up." And then, we didn't have the machinery at that point. So we bought all the machinery from Italy. We used to travel to Italy a lot and get all the machinery from there. Yeah. So we got the polishers.
Whereabouts in Italy?
Rimini. Yeah. So yeah, it was.
I see.
It was an experience. Anyway, that's another story. But yeah, so we got all the machinery in, and we started doing worktops, and we made really, really good money. And then crazy because I needed staff, specialist staff to be able to deal stonemasons.
Mm-hmm.
They're not something that you can just kind of go to college and say, "Hey, I want to be a stonemason." No one wants to do that kind of stuff, so they were hard to get. So I managed to contact an agency. I thought, you know what? I always got fired, but these people seem to replace me quickly. So you know what? Let me call a couple of agencies. I'm sure they got lots of people out there that are just replaceable. So yeah, rang up a couple of agencies. Person came to see me, supplied me with the stuff I need, and the invoice was like, "What the hell? I'm paying this guy this much, and they're charging me that much." They didn't even do anything. They just advertised in the paper and got me some guys. And I thought, wow, that's not a bad business. So yeah, from there, we opened up our consultancy firm, and we had 6-7 offices, back in the day, where we'd have them across the country. It was good. It made a lot of money. At the early stages, we did have financial difficulty because back then a lot of companies went bust on us. We were owed hundreds of thousands of pounds. We didn't have any debt protection, and at that point, I was building a 7-bedroom house with a swimming pool. And I was like, "What? I'm owed hundreds of thousands of pounds in the space of like 2 weeks? That's not possible." Banks couldn't help us because we had no debt protection. We was bankrolling this out of my own cash. It was a tough one to do. But yeah, we did good out of that game. We reset up afterwards straight away from when you learn from your mistakes, and this time have debt protection, which we didn't have. But yeah, we came back from it. It was a tough one to come back from. That was a real big bruise to lose hundreds of thousands of pounds in the space of a few weeks. I think it was about 8-9 days. It was really tough, but we came back. You find solutions, and you just go forward with it.
You go forward with that. So then you ended up in running an agency, actually, and then what happened after that? Where did you go from there?
I've always been into property, so we went into bricks and mortar because it was always a good thing. Even though I was building a 7-bedroom house with a pool, I never got to finish that project, but I sold it for a real good sum of money, and I cashed up again just overnight. Literally, I lost hundreds of thousands, but then I gained hundreds of thousands. And bricks and mortars always been a good game that we've invested in and build, renovate, resell. So yeah, that was a good game. We still do a bit of that now. So yeah.
So in my circle, I know a lot of people that moved overseas as soon as the businesses started to do well. because of the weather and because of a lot of other things associated with that. So did the thought never occur to you? Like, did you never went overseas, or have you ever been overseas? Like,
Yeah, a
oh,
lot of times. Yeah,
okay.
in fact, I part live overseas now.
Okay, I
It's only
see.
because this new project that we've invested into has took a lot of my time, working 7 days a week. But the project's almost on its feet now, and it's doing well. It started from a few pounds a day to, we're turning a few million in the first year. So
Wow.
yeah, that's growing, and that entity is going to literally rinse and replicate from different sectors. So that's going to be a good valuation for that company in the next 3 to 4 years. We'll probably sell that off. But yeah, we did property overseas in Spain. I spent a lot of my time there, learning a lot of stuff out there. So that was a good experience. And yeah, COVID hit. We had hotels here, gin and cocktail lounges.
Wow.
COVID was a tough one to come over. I mean, even the real estate market, you couldn't even rent villas out, couldn't even give them away. No one was traveling. But yeah, and then I realized, we need to get into another a company that will be successful. And I thought, well, what are you going to invest in? What can you do? Sat down and thought, well, hold on, let's go back a few hundred years, even a few thousand years. What's important to human beings? I thought, well, shelter's important. We need to protect us. Our
Hmm.
clothes are important. But most of all, food is the lifeline to keep human beings alive, right? I mean, you can live without a house, you can have a bit of shelter and find a rock to crawl in, right? A bit of clothes, you'll be fine. But when you're sick is that point that you will do anything to get better. Even if it's a cough, cold, flu, whatever it is, you will do anything. When your body's down, you will do anything, and you just want to get better again. Even if it's a hangover, a lot of people have hangovers and think, you know what, I really can't deal with this. I just want to get better. I won't drink again, and they'll be back on it. You know, but sickness is something different. When you're sick, you just need to get better again. And I realized at that point, you know what? Healthcare. We're going into healthcare. All pharmaceutical companies make money. There's no, literally, I'm not even hiding it. They make obscene amounts of cash. Literally so wealthy. And I thought, you know what? That's the sector. So we went into healthcare, and it was probably one of the best moves we did. But again, it was down to people as well, having the right people to make the company successful. And good people are really hard to find. And when you have them, you need to keep them close to you and
Close
reward
to
them.
you.
Yeah.
Something that I learned, well, you mentioned a lot of time as well, and I think I learned it with my experiences as well. It is very hard to find that small circle and the good people, and once you have found them, there's no way that you should ever compromise on anything and lose them.
Nothing.
That's
Yeah, people come and go in your life, and sometimes there's two reasons people will come in your life, and two outcomes, very simple outcomes. One will be a blessing that they came into your life, and the other one will either be a lesson. So someone comes in your life and you think, wow, this is amazing. It might hurt you when they leave because they'll destroy you, and that's your lesson. I mean, one thing that my grandma always said to me was, if you want to be an enemy, lend money. It's all you have to do. And I have lost a lot of good friends, and I mean really good friends, over money. And they've come to me crying, and I've lent them money in the thousands. And you know what? We don't even talk anymore. And I've not asked for the money back. But yeah, that's a lesson. You learn that. So
why
sometimes,
do you think is that? Like, obviously we all have friends. We all have that circle. We have friends, family, and it's never the same. Even entrepreneurship is always a bumpy ride.
yeah,
With
of
your
course it
story
is.
as well.
Yeah, yeah,
You're on the top, you're on the bottom, you're on the top again. You're just surviving, and there's all sorts of things happening every day. Is a new day, pretty
yeah,
much,
yeah,
and
yeah.
you do all sorts of work with that as well. Why do you think that we end up losing friends when we borrow their money, or when we have some dealings with that?
It's
What
it's
is
a
that?
tough question. I think it's a really tough question because sometimes you can't see what other people see in you. Do you
Mm.
understand? Like, I see gifts that people have, and I think, you know what, you're not utilizing your skill set. I think you should be there. I've seen it in business that people that are highly educated, they feel that they deserve that position of management or seniority. Okay, and you give them that, and you think, yeah, they deserve that because on paper X, Y, and Z. But they're big mistakes that I've made. I've known people that have never been from that industry that can outperform that person and have better management skills, a better approach. They just are absolutely mind blown on what they bring to the table, but they don't have any certifications. So they never get a chance. I always think if you spend time with a person and mentor them, you can pretty much get the best out of them, but they don't realize they have it. Athletes, for example, not every athlete's a winner when they start. They have to train for that. And they've been mentored, and they go through that process of growing. And that's when they realize, actually, I have this, I can do this mentality. But yeah, only quality people.
Yeah.
Okay, I would say only quality people. Only have good quality people in your life. Because if you don't, you will have people what they see in you and think, you know what? He's got a Ferrari, he's got Lambos and Bentleys and everything. Yeah, fine. They didn't just drop out the sky for me. I worked my ass off for them. I mean, people laugh at me. They're like plant pots on my drive. I don't even use them. In fact, they've got mold coming out. It's embarrassing to even say that. But yeah, only quality people. It's really, really important that you practice only quality people. If you spend time with 3 drug addicts or crackheads or whatever you want to call them, you will be the 4th. You spend time with people constantly out of town, alcoholics, you will be the 4th. If you spend time with a joiner, a builder on site every day, you will be the 4th, because they'll say, oh, you know what? I'm not getting out of bed for less than £250 a day. And you're thinking, $250 a day? Do you know what? Yeah, I'll do that.
Start multiplying that too.
And then you start thinking, well, actually, there's money here.
Yeah.
So if you surround yourself with like-minded quality people, so if you want to get into architecture, you surround yourself with them kind of people, eventually you will be that 4th person. But it's only quality people. If you surround yourself with people like, hey, what you doing today? Oh, I'm just hanging out. You know what? I'm going to town. I'm going to buy a shirt. You want to hang out? Yeah, let's go. And you will literally piss your time away. And these people have no goals. They're just existing. You want to exist, but you will never break any barriers and be successful. It takes a certain mindset of an individual. And sometimes you have to lock yourself away from the world, even friends and family, and move away. The most powerfulest thing you can do is move away and start fresh. Cut off your tree. Just literally from the base, replant yourself. Pull out the roots, literally replant yourself and come back. Because you'll find that you are products of your environment. A human being is a product of their environment. Most people will ask, well, that's not true, that's not true. Well, okay, if that's not true, answer me one question. If you are not a product of your environment, and I'll quite simply put it out for you, right? I want any person that's watching this podcast today to travel literally 20, 30 minutes, any direction they wish to choose on their compass. North, east, south, and west. Just travel. Get in your car right now. Travel. 20, 30 minutes in any direction you wish. I don't care where you're heading. Just get out of your area. Okay? Get out of where you are. Okay? Get out of the environment that you're in. Okay? Watch what happens. Something very simple will happen, is an accent change. You can move a couple of postal codes out and there's an accent change. Oh, but why is that? Because you're a product of your environment. It's as simple as that.
As simple as that.
So you need to move away. If you want to grow, sometimes cut it all off. Start fresh. And leave it, we have to shed our skin sometimes, to grow. Do what you have to do.
It brings me back to the example that you always give me. The example of your garden tree. I'll let you crack on with that one.
Which, sorry?
So the fact that you remember when you mentioned that there was a tree that was dying on one side of the garden,
right? And
you simply picked it up and put it on the other side. So yeah, I think that would be really.
This is a good analogy, right? So I planted some conifers around the boundaries of my property, and there was a few that were dying. Okay, and I thought to myself, why are they dying? Everything else is growing, literally, and I could see them wilting. They were going brown and looked so sad, and they were weeping to one side. I was like, this is not good. And I thought to myself, why would it do that? All the soil's the same. What's going on? I couldn't believe it. So I took that particular plant, those conifers actually, and I moved them further up, probably around about 15, 20 feet up, and that's it. And I got the really strong one, and I moved it further down in place of them. And then I waited. And I think within the space of a few weeks, something crazy happened. I thought by moving them into the strong place and then putting the strong one into where they were dying, what do you think actually happened?
I already know. So
okay,
so, you already been through it.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you, I couldn't believe it that the big one was really strong, and I put it in to where the conifers were dying. Actually, didn't die. It stayed. And it's continued to grow in their place. But then the ones that were dying, I moved into the strong person's place and they grew. But yet, why didn't the strong one die in the place of them? And why is it when I moved them, they just were moved out of their environment? That's all they did. And we as human beings, to me, that's the same point. Sometimes you have to come out of your situation where you're at in life, whether it's in a relationship or whether it's with family or whether it's in, you've got a network of friends, you sometimes have to cut them off and start fresh.
It's the environment that matters. Like,
Absolutely.
it definitely, you, as you're 100% right, you are the product of your environment.
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
no denying in that.
One tiny drop of black ink is going to destroy that whole purified, filtered glass of water. Same with work environments. Some work environments are so toxic, and I'm like, wow, how you can work in that environment is beyond me. It's not healthy. It's not good, because what people don't realize is if you have a great work life, you have a great home life. People are like, well, how does that make sense? Well, you're spending half of your life at work.
More than half.
More than half. And by the time you get home at 6, 7 p.m., you literally got a few hours at home. And then you've got to play parent, you've got to play this, you've got to play, and cook, clean, do all your daily chores, and then go back, sleep, and then wake up. So figure it out. The answer's in front of you. It's important to have a good balance in your work environment.
That's amazing. So let's talk about your recent project that you are currently working on, the healthcare sector. I know quite a bit about it. Obviously, I'm a part of it with you. But what I want to know more from your perspective, I want to know your vision behind it. What's the reason? You were making good money on the other industries as well. Let's be honest. So the money was never the question, or that was never the issue. It's always a drive. Don't get me wrong. We are entrepreneurs. We strive for money. We are working 24/7. Not just for money. I think it's just a kick that we can't stop ourselves. Anybody at your position with their first company turning over 10, 15 grand a week at that age, it would have taken that company to 40, 50 grand a week. And I think that's a crazy amount of money for individuals at this time. And they are very happy with that.
It was back then. It was back then, pulling cars out the showroom for 100 grand at the time. It was no big deal. You didn't even feel it, People's mortgages were what we were paying on car payments,
exactly.
That kind of stuff. So
exactly.
We didn't feel it, and people were struggling to pay their mortgage. Why would you be crazy?
What was the vision behind getting into the pharmaceutical industry? Why did you go into it? Like, money is understandable.
No, it comes back down to the thing. I think COVID was a good playing factor to see actually what's happening to the world, what's happening to people's healthcare and everything. But I think a big catalyst for me is the bigger the problem you solve, the bigger the reward. I mean, if you just solved a simple problem,
higher the risk, higher the reward, huh?
Yeah, I guess, and this is it. And it's not a cheap sector to go into. Let me tell you, you need some seriously deep pockets to say, you know what, I'm willing to put that there to lose it. Okay, most people are like, you know what, my house is worth like hundreds of thousands. I would never risk that. We put over £1 million into this project already, as a startup company. And that money does hurt to find, out of your back pockets, because you didn't get no funding from the bank. You didn't, nobody. It's just your own cash. So as a startup idea, you know what? I think there's money there. We run the numbers. We looked at the sector, how we could improve it and make some significant changes to create access to healthcare more affordable, but fast, super fast. And I thought to myself, okay, it's going to cost this. It's either you run with it or you don't. I mean, it's okay talking. I mean, people that talk the talk get left in a great conversation, right? Oh, I was going to do this, I was going to do that, and this was my idea, and you know what? Great. You know what? Shut up. Forget it. But people that walk the walk, they are the only ones that get to their destination, and it's simple as that. So yeah, we put that much money into the sector. We knew it was going to be, a 3-year game plan, and the first year has been very, very successful, and now we're due to spread out. Like I said to you, when you set up a business, it's not where you start or where you end up. Even sometimes where you end up is the start point of where you're about to head. But people think, no, that's the end goal. No, it is. I mean, look at our perspective where the end goal was there. We got it. And now, hold on, we're just about to start now. So yeah, you diversify and you find solutions to big, big problems and you fix them.
Sounds amazing. So the healthcare sector specifically, from our previous conversations, you had the idea of revolutionizing that and bringing that to the doorstep of people that are struggling to get those services. As you mentioned, obviously, if you're hungry, I think you can still start for a day or two, and you are still there. But if you're ill, you got an infection, for example, you need your medicine. There's no way.
Food and shelter, that's fine, different. But I think medicines, it's not like food. It's not like clothing. It's completely different. when you're sick, and there are a lot of people that are sick that just do not get the service that they need from their GPs, from, even going to A&E, you could be sat there literally, for 12, 18 hours, only to be left with some paracetamols, and you'll be fine, a pat on the bum, I don't mean that in a bad way, but, because all these people in the healthcare sector work extremely hard, and they're under an immense amount of pressure, and they don't see their families, and they still go home after a long shift and put a smile on their face with their families. But the healthcare sector is crumbling. I mean, you only heard it on the news yesterday. First time in history, they're going to do the biggest reform. Okay. The Prime Minister's announced it. So let's see how they go with that. But, you've got to really fix the plumbing before you think everything else is fixed. It's not going to work. But pumping millions and millions into the healthcare sector, which they have done for decades, it's not fixed. It's broken, and it keeps getting more worse. Try and get a GP appointment these days. Have you managed to get through?
No, it is a mission. I tried it myself actually. My daughter, she was ill, and to get an appointment, get through the GP. Luckily, I got you, and I can get to the GP.
Which is good, but not everyone has.
Not everybody has you. So that's the.
But what did you see when you went into the GP? Not a lot going on. They just really. I mean, come on, the receptionist is there. Not a lot going on.
Not a lot going on. But
it's like, well, how is it? Why can they not fix something that is fixable to a degree within the GP's sector? This is where we decided. You know what? If they can't fix it, we will. So basically creating access to healthcare, very affordable, and literally within 12 to 24 hours, you're done. Your medication's on you.
I think that's an amazing thing to have, and I think that's a huge thing that would help the public itself. From anyone, everybody, as when you're ill, you would do anything to get better.
I think there's a bit more to it. I mean, for example, I can tell you that most people have got relationships. Some people are single. Most people have got parents. Just pointing out some of the obvious here. But you really don't want to be going to your GP and you've had sex with a different woman and now you've got an STI and you're having to knock on the same door, but he knows, hold on, I deal with your mom, your dad, your sister, your mother, your brother, your whole family. I'm the doctor here. And you don't want to be going and saying, look, I've got a problem downstairs. You know what? I don't really know where it happened, but can you fix it? Or, you know what? I've got a hemorrhoid, but I don't know if it's a hemorrhoid. Can you bend over and check me out? No, you really don't want that. And most people don't want to discuss it in front of face-to-face to a GP. The people have got their sort of self-respect, a bit private, a bit embarrassed. They don't want to go in there and say, you know what, pants off, let's have a look. No one wants that. So this is where we come in. You can have a private, literally, a one-to-one, or you can literally do it online. You don't necessarily have to speak to anybody to get access to medication. We do it safely. We're fully regulated by the CQC, the GPHC, and all the top healthcare professionals that we use to make sure it's completely safe. And you can pretty much get access to most things that you need, from STIs to HRT, morning after pills, sexual health. We cover it all. Weight loss. I mean, the list goes on and on. Yeah,
sounds amazing. So let's just go through the overall podcast. The overall podcast, we had that conversation about your experiences, where you've been, what you're doing, and what you're currently doing as well. What I would like to know is what would be the message that you would give to your younger self, if you could speak to yourself, let's just say 20 years ago, as of with the experience that you currently have?
Me personally, this is a deep question for me. Guys, girls, whatever it is, don't lock yourself down in a relationship. You will waste time. You will look back and think, what was I thinking? Don't have a relationship. You don't need one, okay? You need to love yourself first before you need someone else to love you, okay? You can deal without that. Let me tell you, relationships come all along. Literally, every couple of seconds you'll get in a relationship. When you've got a Lamborghini, you're driving a Rolls Royce. Believe me, there is people ready to jump in that seat with you and have a great journey with you. That kind of thing. People want that. Who does it? But no, I think keep focused on your plan. The plan you start with may not be where you end up. Like I said to you, it may be just a starting point or a catalyst for you to get where you want to be. But then that will change again. You may have failures. I think bank as much money as you can. Okay, stay with parents as long as you can, but at least buy a property. Even if you don't live in it yourself because you're scared of the commitment, rent it out. Let someone else pay the bill, but have a base foundation. Don't waste time with friends, okay? Because you can waste 10, 15 years with friends, hanging out, going out, repetitive, same week, same weekend, every weekend, in and out. You're like, hey, what are you doing Friday? Oh, we're going out. What are you doing Saturday? We're going out. And then you're spending all your time in your job to waste it on the weekend. I mean, you can blow 150, 200 pounds easily on a night out. Yeah, at the end of the month, that's a lot of money. You could waste time on a relationship. Babe, what are you doing this tonight? Oh, do you know what? Let's go out. Let's go Nando's. Let's go cinema. Let's go here. Let's go bowling. Or do you fancy a little holiday abroad? Come on, man. That's wasting money. What, you can't concentrate 4 or 5 years? You've got a whole lifetime here. So what? All we're saying is invest 5 years of that kind of time on yourself. Bank as much money as you can. Don't waste it. And again, I'll come back to it. Only quality people. Only quality people. Put the right people around you. Not people you think, they're friends. Yeah, they may be friends. And they may be here for the end of days, you know, to your 70s and 80s. But is that what you want, or do you want to progress? I mean, if them friends are still there, they're your friends, right? They're not going anywhere. So what, you go out and go missing for 5 years, you replant yourself, reborn. You know, you spend time on yourself and put effort in there. If they're your friends, they'll still be there. Go out and do you. Do you, and you're going to be good. Things will happen.
That's a really good thing to think about as well. And I'm sure that it would, let the audience think about what they can take from this podcast. What stood out the most from this podcast? Obviously, it's not every day that you think about your past, and it's not every day that you're like, okay, this is where I started and this is where I am now. What do you think stood out the most, or like what clicked?
I think for me, it's just reflecting. I'm talking about my past, which I very, very, in fact, I never do. Nobody knows about my past, and I'm not in my family because I left home at a young age. I don't discuss anything with my family. I don't discuss any ideas or advice. I don't even bother asking for a penny off anyone because I don't need them to judge me. I don't need people to judge me. I don't need a judge. Only God can judge, right? Getting advice from people that have never been my footsteps or have my dreams or aspirations, I can't ask them for anything, So I think standing on your own 2 feet, not everybody can do that. Sometimes they need a relationship or they need something around them to do that. But if you're an entrepreneur, it's a lonely journey. You are by yourself. But looking back, when I'm talking about it, I think, wow, okay, is that really what I've been through? I mean, there's a lot more to it. We're only breaking it down into bite sizes for people to maybe have 5 minutes and listen to what we're talking about. But it does break it back, and I think, wow, okay, I remember when I did that, and this is what was happening. This is the emotional state I was in, and this is what I had to go through. And wow, is that a journey? It's like a war zone. I've been through World War One, Two, and bloody Three. It's like how did I get through that, and how am I even still here? And I'm still progressing every day. I make one tiny change every single day, and I know it may not sound a lot, but if you can change one single thing every single day, that's 365 changes in 1 year. And if those changes don't do something for your life, you're either in the wrong environment with the wrong people. So I would definitely replant yourself as that tree.
Definitely makes sense. What stood out for me is the fact that even when you are successful, in front of a lot of people's eyes, that's a huge success to own a company, being able to be the owner of the company that you used to work for example. That's a massive thing. Even then, we entrepreneurs can't stop. We don't have a full stop. Like, it's always a comma, a hyphen in there. Okay, what's next? I think is an amazing thing to have. Not everybody drives for that, and I think it's not something that you can build. I think you just kind of
it's an old saying, you either have it or you don't. Now that kind of mindset, that sound structure that you have in your brain, that sometimes can be lured there to have it, but 99% of the time you either have it or you don't. And most people don't have it, and they don't want to take the risk, and they will never see the reward, but they'll always talk about conversations. Like I said, people that talk the talk get left in a great conversation. People that walk the walk that get to their destination. What, my friend's he's buying, selling cars now. You know what, he's making like 4 or 5 grand on each car he's buying, selling. He's doing like 8 cars a month. Wow, you know what, that's what I want to do. No, two people go to the same class, same school, same neighborhood, same this. Even brother and sister, 2 brothers, same family, same parents, same DNA, same this, same that. One will go that way, one will go another. You can't say that that horse is going to run faster or outrun that horse than the other. we're just built differently. We're just our mindsets are different, and that's what makes us different.
Okay, amazing, perfect. I think with this we just conclude our today's podcast. It was a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for taking your time from your busy schedule. I know how busy you are,
Thank you for having me.
and I'm sure that it will be really beneficial for. I learned a lot from it, so that's just the biggest thing that I think I can take from there, and I'm sure that a lot of people listening to us or watching us would definitely be able to pick up few points that might be of their interest, or they might help them to make certain decisions that
Absolutely.
are still going through their minds. Perfect, Philip. It was a pleasure having you once again, and thank you everybody for watching, and I will see you guys on my next video.
Before I leave, nothing ventured, nothing gained. He who dares wins, right?